Guten Abend, herzlich willkommen zum Publikumgespräch. Good evening, welcome to the audience talk. Mein Name ist Jan-Philipp Possmann, my name is Jan-Philipp Possmann, and we will do this in English because we have an international cast of performers. If you want to ask questions in German, feel free to do so. We can always translate, it's not a problem. If you do not understand English, try to sit next to somebody who does, and who can maybe translate for you. And Markus Tross from the Musantum will be happy to do so also.
Also, I'm going to microphone.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to host this audience talk of a production and a cast that is also very dear to me, and I'm sure they're very dear to you now as well. I will introduce the crew. So I'll start over there. So that's Frau Banklauer, who is the owner of the donkey. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, who's the owner of the donkeys, of both of them. And right next to her, it's Maximilian Haas, who's a dramaturg of the production. And then next to him, it's who's there next? Okay, so that's Julien Bruno, and then it's Philipp Enders, and then I had to write it down. It's Alondra Castellanos, and then it's Noah Ramadan, and then the last one is Sid Urle, and then David Weber-Krebs, the director of the show next to me. And this show is always a premiere in the sense that there's always new performers. The two performers you saw who are not here right now, they decided to stay outside where the air is a bit fresher. So that's Hugo and Louis, who you saw tonight. And but this is not the first time that this show has been done. And David told me that they always do an audience talk afterwards. David, can you explain a little bit the role of this talk for you?
Yeah, we have done this piece a few times already. I don't know how many times, but in different cities and also in different countries. And we have understood that it's very interesting to share experiences after the show, because the performers, they have to deal with situations that are always new. Like, we have a kind of dramaturgy in the piece, but obviously, I mean, it's clear that the donkey does exactly what he wants, and we can only prepare the situation so that we can lure him into the communication that we want to establish. But actually, it's a new situation for them every time. So they have to work with this situation, and for you, of course, it's also the first time. So we are very interested to share our experiences here, and that's why also we do this talk with all these people, because this is what we are interested in, and what is interested with this piece. Like, for example, the fact that he goes to the door doesn't happen every day, every evening. This kind of vacuum cleaner donkey also. Yeah, and also this the fact that they come back for the audience, so like audience gear. Yeah, how do you say? Yeah, for the applause, that they are so happy to come for the applause. It's also something that we have experienced only today, for example.
So then maybe it's good that we start with you, and if you could share some of your experiences, what you saw the donkey do, and also your questions that you might have about the production, about the process.
There's some kind of general rules how you react to the donkey's movements and what he does.
Could you repeat that?
Question just for us.
Do you have a general rule how you react to the donkey? I mean, we try, what we try here is to create a situation where communication happens with the donkey. And we have done a few, before making this piece, we have had, with Maximilian Haas, the dramaturg, we have had like years of research of how to make theater with an animal. And for example, we understood that with these donkeys, the theatrical tension happens if the performers don't touch the donkey. But it happens always in this movement of walking and of attraction and not repulsion, but this thing of movement. So that's one rule. But for the rest, we have a dramaturgy. We have like scenes that we do, and it's clear that you see in the beginning humans trying to enter into communication with a donkey, and then at some point there is a theater donkey arriving, and then at the end there is a maid arriving. And this is often how we have seen the performance until now. It's often the moment when theater or drama or theater collapses and we watch nature at that moment. But today it was totally different, because this Louis, he brought a totally new dimension to it. He actually, how do you, what? No.
So the question was there something on the ground like honey or some juice?
Well, maybe basically he was smelling all what we did, perhaps, like all where we passed through, what we were doing. He went to the party part, so he was really scanning all what we did, perhaps.
So there are, of course, like certain rules which are specific for certain scenes. So there's not just like one general rule how to act with a donkey. We didn't came up with like the principle of how to do it. But of course, there is scenes where the performers are following the donkey. There is scenes where the donkey is supposed to follow the performers. I mean, it's all very simple and basic rules that I'm sure you all seen in the show. But the work was to arrange them in a certain way that it's specific in each scene, and that it does make sense on different levels throughout the show. So this is actually where we basically create meaning in the show by combining rules and making it hopefully interesting for an audience to watch.
Good question. Could you do the performance also with another animal but a donkey, or ask differently, why is the donkey? And the second question, when we move and walk, I see there are principles of action theatre. Are they applied, or is it a different method?
Actually, we at some point we wanted to do a performance with an animal, and there was always the reference to the way we wanted to do to work with an animal was always this movie Au hasard Balthazar from Robert Bresson of '61, I think, where actually the biography of a donkey is narrated as a donkey. And this is actually almost the only example we have there are very few examples of stories where a donkey is not anthropomorphized, where the donkey is not like speaking, or where they're applied like a human characteristic to a donkey. It's just treated as a donkey, and this is what we wanted to do. And then we started to think about, we were looking for started to think which animal could that be, and we ended up with a donkey because, to say it stupidly, a fly would be too little for theater, and an elephant would be too heavy. But also, the donkey is, I don't think we could do this with another animal, because he's so in his calmness. He's also extremely expressive with his ears, and he has a way to be on stage which is also very strong and very calm. So And he's very. I mean, everything that happens on stage, he registers. Yeah. And the second question, maybe that's for the dramaturge.
I mean, no, nor do I. But maybe it would be interesting to hear from you which principles from action theatre you saw, and maybe it helps us. I mean, it would be interesting to hear.
Well, the principle of walking in groups, and because I realized you were applying a certain rhythm and adapting to the rhythm of the donkey. That is very much a principle of action theatre, as far as I know it. This interaction between rhythm, timing, and what's surrounding, and responding to that.
So I think also for the walking in the beginning, which then is throughout the piece the main principle of the piece, it's the result of research in how can humans and a donkey meet on stage in a way which is accessible and open to the both of them, kind of in a similar way. And there's not much that actually humans and a donkey can do together except walking. And that's what donkeys do. They walk together, and if they hear the sound from like horseshoes, they start immediately to walk with them. So this came more from the communication that we aimed at between humans and an animal. And like most of the other scenes kind of emerged out of that basic practice of walking together. And once this is established, you can then challenge it and bring in new material and stuff, and maybe even, I don't know, approach the donkey in an inappropriate way, like to donkey standards. Yeah, so it all came out of this, basically.
But it's interesting that you talk about rhythm, because indeed it wasn't really a rule, but it's an overarching score for us is to really play with music or play with the musicality and the rhythm, because if we do that, then we're busy with something that we also do between us, that we can also do with the donkey, that helps us hold concentration. And because his feet are so loud, and we also wear shoes that make sound, so that is heightened.
Eine Frage an die Besitzerin. Waren die Bewegungen und die Arten, wie die Esel sich jetzt hier verhalten haben, wesentlich anders als in ihrem Umfeld?
So the question, I just translated, the question was to the owner of the donkey if the movements of the donkey and the behavior of the donkey was fundamentally different here on stage than otherwise.
So, ich darf auf Deutsch antworten. Ich verstehe Englisch gut, aber ich rede es eigentlich nicht. Die Esel haben sich schon hier verhalten wie auch zu Hause. Es sind einfach Lauftiere und sie laufen unheimlich gerne und sind unheimlich auf Menschen fixiert. Sie möchten in der Gruppe laufen. Vielleicht hat man es beim Hugo auch gesehen. Der hat immer den Kontakt gesucht und so, streichelt mich doch, macht was mit mir. Jetzt wird es mir aber langweilig, da gehe ich mal zur Tür. Ich habe schon sehr, sehr lange Esel und ich gucke genau, was ich mit ihnen mache, weil sie bei uns zur Familie gehören. Sie sind Esel, keine Menschen, muss man auch ganz klar sagen. Und ich möchte die Esel eselgerecht halten und nutzen. Und ich habe das Video bekommen von David Weber-Krebs und war total begeistert von dieser Art, Esel in Kommunikation mit Menschen zu zeigen, und habe gesagt, jo, das möchte ich auch machen, da biete ich meine Esel an, weil es einfach eine schöne Art ist zu beobachten. Und ich war auch bei den Proben die ganze Zeit sehr fasziniert, wie diese Kommunikation Mensch-Tier läuft, wie die Performer sich auf die Esel einstellen, der Esel sich auf die Performer einstellt. Und heute war es wirklich so, wir sind heute, Freitag war der erste Tag, wo wir hergefahren sind, wir sind jeden Tag hergefahren. Heute musste ich aufpassen, weil die Esel wollten auf den Hänger, bevor sie geputzt werden, und wollten hierher fahren. Ich weiß nicht, was ich übermorgen mache, weil dann sind wir hier fertig.
I'll try to translate this. So she said that that basically they behave the same way. They're animals who like to walk. They like to walk in groups. They want to be part of the group. They want to participate. They really like humans. They really like human interaction. So they were really like, do something with me, include me, and if you're not doing anything, then I get bored, and then they walk to the door. So, and she said that's typical for the donkeys, but she also said that it's important to point out that donkeys are not humans. They have their own ways that should be respected. And when this project was proposed to her, she watched the video of one of the performances of this show, and she was really intrigued, and she really liked the way that that this show deals with the donkeys, and she said she would like to participate in it, and she's been here with the donkeys for the whole rehearsal series, being fascinated by what she saw, and then the last day, the donkeys were so eager to come here that she had trouble really getting them into their carriage, because they wanted to go before it was ready, so she said she doesn't know what to do on the next day because they're so eager to be here.
Ich habe auch eine Frage wegen, hier bin ich, hallo, zu die Esel. Arbeiten Sie mit der Esel in Bezug auf Menschen viel? Ich meine, haben die Esel wirklich viel Kontakt mit Gruppen von Menschen oder Kleingruppen von Menschen? So I asked the question if the donkeys themselves really have a lot of contact with groups of people in not necessarily a theater setting, but you know, in kind of also kind of a rhythmic setting oder ja, einfach so ein Zusammensein von gerade die zwei. Weil die waren Stars. Ich meine, I think they were really top performers. And so were you. Thank you very much. You did very well.
Da muss ich den Performance-Mann ein großes Kompliment machen, weil sie haben sich so auf die Esel eingestellt. Also sie waren so, ich weiß nicht, ein bisschen verliebt in die Esel, aber wirklich so dieser Kontakt, der mir auch ganz wichtig war, der war relativ schnell da und die Esel hatten wirklich Spaß reinzukommen, aber auf Ihre Frage zurückzukommen, eigentlich sind die Esel mein Hobby, aber ich arbeite an der Schule für Blinde und Sehbehinderte, auch mit schwerst Mehrfachbehinderten, und die Esel sind in dieser Arbeit. Hugo hat diese Arbeit sehr lange gemacht und er war für mich eine ganz tolle Brücke auch zu schwerst mehrfachbehinderten Kindern. Er ist jetzt eigentlich in Rente, was er gar nicht mag, weil es ihm körperlich nicht ganz so gut geht, aber er überzeugt mich immer wieder, dass ich ihn mitnehme. Wir wandern sehr viel mit den Eseln und wir sind auch in ganz Deutschland immer unterwegs. Am allerliebsten wandern wir, was den Eseln und uns auch die größte Freude macht. Aber ich bilde die Esel von klein auf aus, dass sie Menschen kennen, dass sie mit Menschen umgehen, in einer sagt man, liebevoll konsequente Ausbildung, so dass sie mit mir arbeiten möchten. Und ich denke, das ist die Grundvoraussetzung, dass man Esel hat wie meine 4, die mehr hier kennenlernen konnten. Nee, haben nur 3 kennengelernt. Ja. Also ich denke, man kann nicht einen Esel irgendwo auf eine Weide stellen und sagen, dann arbeitet der mit mir, weil er kann es nicht. Und Esel wollen arbeiten, das hat man hier gesehen. Das sind keine Schafe, mit denen man Wiese mähen kann, sondern das sind Tiere, die von ihrer ganzen Entwicklungsgeschichte ja immer mit den Nomaden gezogen sind. Und die waren immer bei dem Mensch, die waren mehr bei dem Mensch als das Pferd, die waren in der Mühle, die waren in dem Zelt dabei. Und das merkt man nach 6000 Jahren Domestizierung einfach diesen Tieren an. Und dann möchte ich dann auch Tiere präsentieren, die ein schönes Bild von einem Esel zeigen, was man leider in Deutschland viel zu selten sieht.
I tried to translate it. She Is there anybody else I should translate it for? No? Okay.
Also Sie sagen, dass er jetzt in Rente ist. Ich glaube, er hat eine neue Karriere. Vielen Dank.
So how was the he was asking how was the audience reactions in the other shows that you played? Maybe some examples.
That was actually quite different. Usually overall pleased and interested and curious. And then we had different shows depending, and we had different conditions. The last time we played it in Italy, end of June, and we had about 36 to 40 degrees in the theater hall. So you could feel that. You could feel that there was a different concentration span in the audience. In Berlin, when we showed it, we had heavy weather conditions with a lot of with storm and outside and heavy rain, and it was also very hot and humid. And it's more that you then see somehow that in Berlin, for instance, the donkey was a lot distracted by all the different conditions. The audience feels it, got more nervous. The donkey felt that too. It's ranging, but overall it's always a very interesting experience. And I think that's also for us as performers really nice to see, to go to different places. Also, the stage setting is always a little bit different. Now we have really this open stage, but we had in Berlin and in Kortrijk, we were really more in a proscenium stage where there was a curtain and the stage was a bit up. That makes a very different relation and bridging from the stage to the audience space. And all these little things make it always feel very different, but overall it's somehow, every experience is somehow rich as such.
In Berlin we had people walk out, no? 2 people walked out. We had it one show where 2 people walked out. I mean, you asked, no, about the public reaction, because I think the sensing between, or the projection of the experience of the donkey, the feeling of tension in the audience. Some people left because we had this one show where Felix, that's the name of the donkey, he was just all the time at the door and quite stressed, and so we had a hard job, and this stress stressed some people out also. Yeah.
There was one last anecdote. There was one spectator in a Hamburg showing that at the end of the audience talk didn't believe that it was an actual donkey, because he couldn't believe that you would put like a real animal on stage. He thought till the very end of the discussion that it was like a machine that was so well done that it even the donkey urinated on the stage, and he thought that the machine was constructed to do that, and it even stinked, and he simply didn't want to believe that there is anything but humans or machines on a theater stage.
But just another thing, maybe we haven't had a lot of people we didn't have problems with Sanitätsamt oder Veterinäre, animal rights or these things, that there were not so many criticism on that level, which you could expect, because a fact is that everybody here is willingly coming here. People are paid to perform this, and they can at any moment they can say I don't want to do this anymore, but the donkey doesn't, and this is a big difference.
Though I mean, it's true they cannot say we don't want that. Though we have to say, and we had in all the other shows we were really trying out with certain and feeling, they're feeling actually quite uncomfortable, and then we were changing the donkeys, and in the end we ended up actually with other donkeys on stage than before we thought would be the hero for this particular place, because this is always something to find out. So there is actually this also choosing and being seeing is this donkey comfortable with it. And I mean, here it's very exceptional also that all the donkeys that were here, they were curious and they went right in, checked out the stage and all this. So it was no question or to have any concern about do they now feel comfortable or not.
For you, what were the challenges and what was easy? What was astonishing for you in the interaction with the donkey?
Well, so in every place, it's a different story, because it's donkeys are different. One donkey is different from another one, and also like a group of donkeys owned by a certain person also share, I guess, a certain culture coming from how they live on a daily basis and how they are dealt with by the owner, how much they interact on a daily basis with other human beings and so on. So it's every time we do this show, we've done it several times now, so the performers, we know them, we know what we have to do, but every time we have to come 3-4 days in advance to prepare the show, because we always have to meet and adapt to the donkey, who never behaves as we expect, and we get to know them a bit, and then we do the show, and then they react to things they were not interested in before, and or they are bored with things they used to be excited by. So it's really a constant negotiation. So that's another layer. You were asking about the rules earlier. So we do have rules, but there is also this layer where we constantly have to re-understand the why, the purpose of these rules with this specific donkey, and how to make it happen. And this time our challenge was, as somebody just said, that they were very curious. Philippe just said that they were very curious and willing to follow us, to communicate with us, to the extent where the risk was that it could become flat, because it could be read and they are like obedient dog, like you do that and they follow, they come to you, they stop when you stop, and so you don't see the animal, you just see the tame being, which is acculturated by the humans. And of course, what we are interested in is this negotiation between establishing communication and losing it, where the animal has an autonomy, and like you saw today, probably at a certain point, he was bored being still, and then he pushed Sid because he wanted to move and to walk. It worked. Sid and other walked. So later on, he wanted to move again. He pushed Alondra, but yeah, to come back to the challenge was like to revisit our rules so that we would challenge them enough, so that in turn they would challenge us also. That was this specificity of here, and some other time it's the opposite. They are much more wild, if you want, or unwilling to participate to our game, and we have to find the way where they feel invited.
Maybe also to say, for me, what is very interesting and challenging is that we collect these experiences. I mean, as a bit what he was explaining from each place to each place. Of course, the donkeys change, but also from one day to another, or from one run to another. It also is a completely different story. So you collect a lot of experiences that we discuss after each run, like, okay, if this happens, we do that. If this happens, we do that. Or maybe we should search in this direction. But we always just can talk from what already happened. And we never really know what is going to happen after. So you are again, once again, with all your bunch of, or your palette of options that you discuss what to do here and there, but it always comes like a surprise of something that never happened before like that. So you really have to react at that moment with all the experience we have gained through all the performances we did so far till now, but trusting that we will solve whatever comes on the new show. And that's for me what keeps me very alive and curious to keep doing it.
Da war eine Frage? Ja. Viele Male haben viele Male haben Sie in Frankfurt mit den Eseln geprobt. Und zweitens, wie kommen Sie an die Esel, die in der
Okay, so the question was, how often did you rehearse with the donkeys here in Frankfurt? And the second question is, how do you find the donkeys in new towns?
We rehearsed from Friday on, last Friday, so it's 4 days, 5 days. And we rehearsed sometimes, we actually rehearsed one day with Hugo, and then we kept him, let's say, fresh. We kept him interested, so we asked him only to come today again, and then we worked with other donkeys in the days in between. And how do we find donkeys? We ask the theater who invites us to find donkeys. but and then I often come for kind of audition, but actually, to be honest, it's not the donkeys that we audition, it's more the donkey owner, because it's always a kind of co-production. It's always like the donkey owner is always like doing the piece with us, because she must be interested in it. She must understand what we are trying to do there. So and then that's it. That's how we do.
Well, I think that the donkeys, you as the performers and the owner of the donkey were a good team, because the reaction of the donkeys always was a natural reaction. That's also concerning the discussion about animals' rights. And I never had the idea that something was done which was not the nature of the donkeys. I noticed it also in the movement of the donkeys, or of the Hugo, of the first bigger donkey, because when you are moving in certain ways, for instance, crawling at the ground, the donkeys reacted a bit disamused, because I think they thought something would happen to you, or something would against the health of the individual. And therefore I think it was a really good teamwork of you and the donkeys. Thank you.
Thank you. So maybe that's a nice closing comment, unless maybe there's one more question. Shall we do that? And then we can also maybe meet at the bar and also talk? Or two little questions, and then we can still have a drink together. Okay, so we start there, and then it's the lady here in front.
Okay, maybe I could try it without a micro. Two questions, short questions. What is the function of the mechanical donkey for today? And you gathered carrots and you put them in your pocket, and they weren't given to the donkey. And I was just questioning, was there a reason behind it, not giving him the carrots that you put into your pocket? And that donkey.
So I just repeated. So what's the function of the mechanic or of the wooden donkey? And the second question: why did you put the carrots in your pocket instead of giving them to the donkey? Right?
Maybe I start with the second question.
You saved them for later, right?
Well, it's a rhythmical question in the sense that for him to eat all these carrots would take a long time, and would shift the kind of rhythm of the performance. So, like, we want this scene, we want to see him chew one piece of carrot, 2 pieces of carrot, but it's also not the idea that we spend 10 minutes there. Therefore, once it happened, well, I take what the remaining carrots, and since I go out, I take them with me outside. Then what happens with these bits of carrots? They are given to the other donkey that so there is no waste.
So they get cooked for dinner.
There is no waste, and but so it's not that we want that we do not want to give it to him. It's a question of balance with the dynamic of the piece. Yeah, that's it. And there is, of course, in that scene a kind of game with a certain cruelty, where we eat in front of him without giving him, and so we play with that gently, and like 2 minutes after we start to give it to him. And but yeah, that's the reason.
And maybe
then
the role of the wooden donkey?
Yeah, it's the idea to introduce a representation of the donkey. Like there is some scenes where we confront the donkey with human artifacts, like the music, for instance, that really react to music, and this is another example. Like, would he react to representation of a donkey? Will he see that? I mean, will he find a certain complicity with that wooden shape because it resembles the silhouette of the animal, and I think it's also a kind of course, it also addresses our projection as for the spectators, as human being. We do recognize that it's a donkey, and do the donkey will recognize it or not? That's what happens there. But maybe the dramaturg or the director wants to add something on that.
Only that the first time this donkey appeared was actually when we rehearsed, or mainly you rehearsed the piece in Amsterdam, and we didn't have a donkey. So we needed a donkey to rehearse with, to find out what to do with the donkey. So this donkey came about, and for the reasons you perfectly described, it stayed then also on the scene. But actually it was just a stand-in to rehearse somehow without having a real donkey in the space, which is banal, I have to admit.
The reaction is always also very different of each donkey. Like, there are nights that the donkey really thinks for a moment it's a real donkey, and he goes to the ass of the mechanical donkey to sniff it, and like the face. And yeah, the reaction is always really different. It's really interesting to watch how he approaches this mechanical representation.
I would like to know, when did you start with this, to work with the donkeys and to make a show out of it? When did you start with this? And the second question is, how many times during a year do you have a performance like this?
No, it's okay. It's okay. So we started, me and Max. We started in 2011. Yeah, we started in 2011, and we started actually with 3 research phases with art schools and theaters, where we actually developed. We researched what I said before, like how to work with a donkey in different ways. And then last year in June, I asked these performers to make this piece. And now with them we've been performing 4 times in 4 different cities, in 4 different theaters. But it's always a new, we really see it as a new production and as a new premiere. We really had the tension of a new premiere today because we have no idea, and tomorrow will be a bit a premiere also. Yeah, so that's it. And for now, we don't know what the next. Yeah. I mean, no, they are the group of Balthazar. They are the donkey group, yes. No. They live in different cities. They have different backgrounds. Yeah.
If anyone would like to program the show,
we are up for.
Yes. And it's interesting. Like for me, it's a piece that because we were hearing like, oh, okay, it already has like 1 year or 2 years of being performing here and there, so maybe we will not play it much more. But for me, it's really a piece that you can always keep playing, just because it's really, it's always going to be challenging, and it's always going to be new, and it's always going to be interesting. It's just.
Okay, thank you very much. Vielen Dank. Thank you.